中央畜产会陈忠兴陈执行长，请发言。
请问一下，丹麦在推动清零的过程，政府如何推动与产业间的合作？推动的过程中，畜牧产业所扮演哪些角色？另外，就在推动的过程当中，有没有遇到什么的阻碍，或者该如何去处理以及解决
？Sorry, I didn't catch up all the three, but the first, I think, question you had was about how the government and the agricultural sector work together. In fact, the vision we had and presented before the government came up with any ideas about the work in the agricultural sector, that's the industry and agriculture itself. We came up with this vision, and we started the work at our advisory center and knowledge center and in our organization. The government is at the moment discussing with the parliament what they should do in the agricultural sector. They have the same ambition as we have in the industry. They want to have an agricultural sector which is CO2 neutral in 2050. But they also have visions for reducing, as Bo Mønsted mentioned, to reduce the CO2 emissions by 70% compared with 90 in 2030. They haven't come up with sector goals, but they are looking what can we do in the agricultural sector. And they are very, very ambitious. So we will deliver around 60, 70%, and that's also what we think we can do ourselves. The big difference between the government and the agricultural sector, the government, in their presentation and their ideas, they think that the agricultural sector should pay the most of it themselves. And we think that we should do it in a partnership. The government, the whole state of Denmark must help financing the sector in transforming, in this green transforming in the coming years. But please, could you repeat the other questions?
I think the third question is has been the obstacle during the process of the cooperation between the public sector and the private sector, and how you deal with the challenge.
Yeah, we have a very, very good cooperation with the universities, and we have good cooperation with the private sector around coming up with new technologies, etc. At the moment, there's not a very good dialogue between the agriculture and the government and parliament in the discussions. How should we find the solutions in the future? How should we reduce the emissions in the short period until 2030? The government is working together with the parliament, very isolated. But of course, we have a dialogue with a lot of the parties in the parliament. But it's a little bit, they are now discussing how do they think we can achieve a very good result in 2030.
好，我们只剩1分钟，我们现在有金冠举手发言，我们就1分钟，请简短发言，谢谢。
各位好，我想请问，丹麦这边是不是已经有一个农业跟畜牧产业的碳足迹的计算模式？这是第一个问题。针对第二个问题是，我们农业要做到净零，是不是必须要先从精准营养、精准畜牧的角度切入？那是不是丹麦有一个精准畜牧或是精准营养的一个 model 跟台湾来结合？以上，谢谢。
Concerning calculation of the emissions, we have some rather good figures of the total emissions from the agricultural sector. But if you go down on farm level, it is very, very difficult to calculate the emissions. We have started a work at our advisory center. They are coming up with a model. How can we calculate on each farm the emissions? But it's very, very difficult because if you go out on the fields, you really don't know how large the emissions would be of laughter gas, for example. And you don't know what are the emissions of methane from the manure in the stables. It's much more easy to figure out how much CO2 is emitted from transport. But we are working on it, and it's going to be a model where you can go out on the farm and you can calculate what's the emissions on your farm. And we will at the same time come up with different solutions on the farm level. And that would be in the pig production, that would be in the milk production, that would be in poultry production, where you can go out and see, okay, I have this technology in my stable. I'm using this feed in my stable. If I change, I can reduce it. So it's going to be a pedagogic thing you can use in your production. It's not we are not thinking that you can use it in putting up rules and, for example, a CO2 taxation on the farm, but you can use it as a tool for the farmer to go in the right direction, transform his production to be a more green and less CO2 emitting production. Thank you.
谢谢 Thank you.
Seconds. I'm sorry. Can
Yes.
I say something in 30 seconds? Because I have a meeting later, so I don't have any questions, but only one suggestion and one request. The first one, the first request is, can we have the whole picture and plan about the net zero carbon emission from Denmark in agriculture and food sector? Because the speech from Niels Peter Norwin is very impressed. So if we could get such whole picture about the net zero carbon emission from your sector, that would be great for us. That's the first request. The second suggestion is, because this is the long way to go for the net zero carbon emission. As Niels Peter said, Denmark and Taiwan are small countries, but we could make big difference. So if possible, can we try to have a very good cooperation between both countries? How do we have, a very good cooperation plan? For example, like we could cooperate from technology to, the real action plan. If there's a possible, we could have a conclusion from this meeting. So I promise we will make our best effort on this net zero emission, and that's my suggestion. And thank you. I'm so sorry because I have a meeting with the premier, so can I leave early? And hope we have a very good successful meeting today. Thank you.
谢谢诸位。
Could I just reflect and say to the minister that we, of course, would be delighted to deliver something in writing, and we would also be very interested in having a very close dialogue in the future, because it's the only way. We cannot do it. Also, like the former speaker said, Huang, that it is not possible to do it country by country. You have to do it in good dialogue with other countries. We have to transfer knowledge, transfer technologies, and that's the way to do it. So we will be very interested in having a close dialogue in the future. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.